figured I'd make a tutorial on how to make a custom faction mod, since a lot of people seem to have trouble with it. First thing you'd want to do is go to the workshop for Cosmo Tier and search custom NPC faction adder, because that is the base mod that Jarhead made that you can use to make your own faction. Then what you'd want to do is obviously subscribe to it, that way it can download. Then after that, you'd launch your game and open the file for it. Once Cosmo Tier is loaded, you would go to Mods, and then, there it is, Custom NPC Faction Add-on, Show Folder. Once you have the file location, which would basically be this, you would then copy it onto your desktop, mostly that way you have backup. And then once you have that, basically go through the things. So you have the ships folder here, which removed a bunch of stuff that's like not necessary, because there are some extra bits, because the example thing has stuff for if you want to make two factions, but generally it's easier just to have two separate mods that each add a faction rather than one that adds two, mostly because it simplifies things. So you have basically faction 2 stuff. You're just gonna basically get rid of all that. It's not loaded anyways, so if I miss any of it, it won't cause a problem. Yeah, basically just gonna do that for now. We'll get like into stuff like this a bit later. I'm just gonna clean everything up a tiny bit. Okie doke, so that's all nice and cleared up. Okay, so the first thing we're going to start with is the mod folder. So you want to do some kind of ID for it. For this example mod, or I guess example tutorial or whatever, I'm just going to use a bunch of random ships, but primarily ones from a second mod that I'm working on as like an example. So I would just do my Steam username, or I guess Discord username, or what, just like whatever you want to do as an ID. Ideally, your name and then what it does, something like that. I need to actually look. It's spelled like that. Inkvad remnant. But yeah, once you've done that, we'd then go to these things. So, with this mod, there's a lot of stuff you have to replace. So one of the things is example faction. That and faction 1 are the two things that you need to replace a lot of. So for an example faction, I would recommend having basically the long form of your faction name. So in this case, I would use Ingvar Remnant. And then for faction 1, you'd use the short form version of the name. So I would just use IKEA, because this is basically a IKEA faction or whatever. Yeah, and then just basically go down the thing, replace the stuff that needs to be replaced. So just like example faction. Actually, I need to underscore those, I think. That way the thing doesn't freak out. Because it will do that if you forget stuff. So yeah, faction 1, I would just do IKEA. And then example faction, Ingvar Remnant, Ingvar Remnant. And then just basically go down the list. But yeah, for people watching this, you would use your own faction, so like whatever you choose for that. This is just kind of an example of like how you end up, or how to like do it essentially. Man. I think, if I recall correctly, this actually needs to be changed to a 3 or a 4, because that's the... Okay, so this is supposed to be 4. I only have like 5 minutes for each section of recording because of the stupid thing I'm using or whatever. This was this was a example faction thing, so just replace it with that. That would be the mod rules folder done. Where was the thing? There it is. So next is strings. This is like just like the translator thing. Most of the time would be English, but if you want your mod understandable in other languages, you, I guess, would translate the stuff for that. So once again, just replace all the example faction and faction 1 things with your long form and short form. This is where the lore for your faction goes, so when you look at it in the codex, it would have all the lore. So I don't know, hates monolith because they're stupid, or something. I don't know, I'm not gonna bother spelling that correctly at the moment. You got another faction 1, so IKEA equals environment. Yeah, the faction lore stuff. That doesn't matter. This stuff, basically or in the mod rules folder, it looks, or sorry, mod rules and English rules or whatever. These two things are like linked to the other one. So essentially, when it looks at that, it's like the stuff from that. So this, yeah, replace it with stuff involving your faction. Yep, that's everything from that. Then ships. This folder is mostly just empty at the moment. Ignore it because I don't know. You put stuff in it later. This do later because you have to do pixel art and stuff. But in the meantime, I'm gonna rename things to IKEA. Actually, this one isn't needed anymore due to the decal sizing, so you could just delete that. Galaxy sizes, this thing, just ignore that, you don't need that. Okay, this is where stuff gets, whatever. Oh wait, hang on, sorry. Yeah, ships folder, you could delete that, because expanded factions is the basically what is the thing? It's like a folder ship thing or whatever. So this is just where like the ships you've made would show up, so it's like easier to find them in game. And once again, replace that with the example. So we'll start with, I guess, faction tiers. Yeah, it's pretty much exactly what people think it might be. So yeah, faction 1, so IKEA, or whatever you have. Yeah, what this stuff does is when a system says something like from 1 to 3, that's basically the tiers of the ships that will spawn in it. So this is like the thing that does that. For obvious reasons, probably don't mess with it. I'm pretty sure if you do mess with it, it'll just break your stuff. So, yeah, just don't mess with it at the moment. Next would be this. One moment. Okay. Our next is Faction Galaxy. So, yeah, your faction IDs. What this stuff does is it changes how your faction spawns on the map. Yeah, so territory ratio is the amount of systems faction controls. Avoid other strength is the basically push factor away from other faction homeworlds. Not entirely sure what that means. Avoid edge strength is basically that, but from the edge of the galaxy. Exponent is like the, I guess, strength in your systems. And then minimum faction strength is like how much of your faction is in your system, or no, I guess any given system. Interesting. Yeah, so that's all set up. And then obviously replace that. This would be the faction logo, but you need to like actually make your own faction logo first for that, so just rename it at the moment. We got another example faction. This is the thing that actually adds your faction into the game. One moment. Okay. So, with this, what you want to do is you want to have like your own custom like faction thing. So with the built-ins, they have it from like 500. So basically, I forget what ones are 100, 200, 300, and 400, but 500 and 501 would be IO. So what you would want to do is not choose something that follows that, because something like 600 and 601 would be whatever faction ends up getting made after IO. So if you had your thing labeled as that, it would break, and you don't want that to happen. That's not needed. So just replace the things that need to be replaced. RGB values. This basically is what color your faction is when it shows up on the map. I don't remember, or actually I think it's set to purple currently, but you would change it to like whatever you want. Obviously red, green, blue values or whatever. For this, I think I'll do whatever the year the guy that made IKEA died. We'll do that as the thing. And that essentially is the ID thing. So if anyone essentially has that as an ID, this would break, but the idea is you do something unique. That way the chance of that happening doesn't happen. Stuff like that, basically. So this is done. That basically is for all the ships. Lore, again, just rename stuff. There's lots of stuff you rename. And I do mean everything. Literally anything that says faction 1 you'd rename with your short form, and anything that says example faction with the long form. So stuff like that, because then it's lore IKEA, or basically the lore for IKEA. I will say, don't worry about the thing not working first try, because that would be very rare. You will have to fix at least a couple bugs or missed things, or even just straight up redo stuff sometimes. But most of the time it should be easy. You could, I suppose, just use like the automatic fill command to fill all the things, but I would recommend not doing that, because if it misses something or replaces something it's not supposed to, then, well, you don't know what that thing was now. Yeah, that's everything. So this stuff basically looks at the English rules thing and goes, okay, that's the lore. I'll then put it wherever it's supposed to go. So that is lore done. And then with factions, this is, I think, the stuff that actually ends up using, or like with your actual ships, essentially. To just replace stuff. Okay. So then this is where your actual ships and stuff are. You just replace stuff. Everything with IKEA, because that is the thing. I've got, I think, a couple combat ships and a couple civilian ships for it. I don't really have, or actually no, I do also have defense platforms. I haven't made any stations for it yet. I need to do that. I need to actually work on the thing. Yeah, that's done. So for stations, actually, I'll do that last because it's complicated. Do civilians after that as well. Okay, so for this, one moment. just quickly rename things. So this is a bit interesting because you have multiple stuff. To simplify it, I basically am just gonna do some stuff like this. So remove scout 2, or hang on. There we go. So, because, yeah, you want to have things simple. And the easiest way to do that is honestly just get rid of a bunch of stuff first. Okay, so 5 and 6. And then 8 and 9. What I'm basically doing is putting it into the different tiers, because you have tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, all the way to like 19, which technically is tier 18. Yeah. Okay, patrol ship 2. Yep. Okay. So normally, for built-ins, this continues past 17 to 18 and 19, with those both basically being flagships. Just going to leave it blank for now, but that's how it would be. All of these are just kind of filler ships at the moment. One moment. So then what you do... you can go to your saved ships or whatever you have. Ideally, if you're smart, you will have them in different tiers. So I have a couple in the tiers or whatever. These are all tier 1s, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or no, 5. Basically do for adding ships is you just copy paste the bits of code, then you have whatever the name of it is. Where is it? Get rid of that. Now you don't have to do this, but if you notice for the names of my ships, I have a little icon after each name. That's mostly there to help with preventing incompatibilities due to another ship having the exact same name. There is, I think, another way to stop that from happening, but this is honestly the simplest way that I do. So, just do that for now. You get all the names of your things. Come on. Yeah, basically you would do that for all of your ships. I don't think I'll do that for now, though. Do defense platforms next, because... Oh, hang on. Nearly forgot this. IKEA faction, yes. Where is it? Okay, so yeah. Defense platforms next. You basically do the exact same thing, because it's simple like that. One moment, yeah. So in my case, I'll just copy the things over. Also remember to rename Faction 1. The tiers for it basically are the same for combat, so varying cost and size and things. I'll put a picture of price chart that I have somewhere in the video at some point, if you need to know what the prices and things are. But yeah, we shall swap those things out. And that would be defense platforms done. Go with civilian. Civilian is interesting because you have two different things you have to do. One of them basically is the same as the combat, where it is the file of the ship and stuff, and then the other one adds said ship to the trade float roulette wheel thing, which makes them actually spawn. And that part is kind of important, because if you end up forgetting about it, your ships won't spawn. Not that part yet. So yeah, this needs to be updated because there is some extra stuff now. Yeah, you have your tier 3s, tier 5, tier 7, tier 10, and then if you want to go past tier 10, you could do up to tier 13. I'd assume that's the logical increase for it. Let me just find the thingies. Actually, I'll copy the things in here for a moment. Yeah, basically, oh, hang on, I forgot that. That would be essentially the basic part of that, and then with this part, this is the complicated part, because what you have to do, okie dokie. Actually, I need, what do I need? Yeah, I need this, mostly just to know the names of things. We don't need that. But you have all your faction stuff you need to replace. And there is quite a lot of that in this, so... And then this would be the name of it. So that would be Billy. And Naomi. I don't want to forget the little thing at the end that I have to do the things or whatever. And then also with this part, you need to remember like the different letters, because that basically is the whatever it is, basically. Get rid of that. 5 and 8. I don't know who the heck is pinging me at the moment, but they're being annoying. Holmes said that one. And then again, yeah, because I haven't fully filled the thing out, those are just there as like fillers. Okay, that should be all the things for here. should note for what's it called? Civilians, there are other things. There's like multiple different tags for stuff. Because with civilians, you also have crew transports, which those are the ones that have crew. So they basically just also have or instead of trade, they have crew transport tag at the end. And that basically makes them trade. You also would put them in like separate category. Each tier has at least one, stuff like that. Combat has actually a similar thing. Being empty storage, which some ships have. At the moment that doesn't do anything, but it will eventually do something. There is also another tag. I don't have any ships that actually have it at the moment, I think. But what it does is it's like, hey, this is the old name of the ship. So if you see that flying about with the old name, this is what its name actually is now. So to like not crash the game, basically. Yeah, this should be just all done now. And last thing is stations. Stations are interesting because you have to load the game in developer mode to get the PNGs, basically. I'm just not going to do that at the moment. Or, yeah. You have two different types of stations. You've got your civilian stations and your military stations, aka arms depots. Yep. Yeah, this basically explains the station load icons, or in other words, that stuff. Okay, yeah, I already did that. Okay, factions, that. And then doodads. I don't actually have any beacons made for it yet, so I'm just going to leave it for now. But yeah, this basically just spawns in your faction beacon so it can do stuff. I think that should be everything, actually. So then you take your thing, mods, and then you basically just launch the game. Actually, I wonder if it shows up in here. Oh, it does. Nice. Yeah, so now that's here. Do that. Restart to see if it actually works. And then fix whatever bugs or whatever stuff missed, because that will happen quite a lot. Oh, wow. And amazingly, that actually worked first try, which is horrendously rare when modding. So, example, I will do a quick little career game to show it spawning, hopefully. If I go onto the map, it is over here, basically. That is a very high territory. I wonder if I can... Yeah. That's the thing. Hopefully it helps.